And Canadians still digging into the finer details of the federal budget and what it means for many. That also includes the Ontario government. Let's bring in our Mark McAllister, who is at Queen's Park. Mark, where would the Ford government's level of enthusiasm be for the budget?
Faiz, I wouldn't necessarily call it enthusiasm at this point. There's probably a level of disappointment among the Ford government ministers, including Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy. He says he has a good working relationship with the federal government. We've heard that from Premier Ford as well. However, there needs to be more of a sense of urgency at this point.
My first take is that it's less transformational, it's more tinkering. It lacks some ambition. The province has been asking for $100 billion over 10 years. Excuse me. All finance ministers across Canada have been asking for the same thing. We're building in Ontario $200 billion of infrastructure over 10 years. Every province is facing the same thing. Their number was $50 billion, of which $21 billion had already been being repurposed as through the gas tax fund. So it's really only $30 billion.
So he says that $30 billion in infrastructure spending over the next decade isn't nearly enough based on the Ford government priorities. We've heard many times about building highways and other infrastructure projects, so they're looking for more money. As for the nation-building projects, we've heard much about as well. Yes, there's support from the federal government for the small modular nuclear reactors, but no commitment for things like preparing the Ring of Fire for mining in Northern Ontario and building infrastructure to get that set up. Bethlenfalvy was also expecting more support for workers and businesses impacted by U.S. tariffs compared to what he says Ontario has done through different funds. He also mentioned, when talking about those nation-building projects, the 401 tunnel that we've also heard about many times as well. Another major project the Premier wants to push ahead with. The feasibility study has been launched at this point by the province, but no support beyond that, and they are looking forward to years in advance, despite the fact that we've heard estimates of $50 billion to $100 billion to be spent. And Bethlenfalvy says the federal government actually needs to start thinking outside the box beyond just 5-10 years down the road, but maybe 50 years down the road, or as Premier Ford has often said, when they're pushing up daisies.
Okay, Mark, you're also following debate that's continuing over government-appointed school supervisors. What's the latest?
Yeah, the latest involves how much those supervisors are actually being paid or how much they're allowed to bill the provincial government. That number is starting to raise eyebrows because essentially we're hearing that those supervisors at the 5 different school boards are allowed to, in fact, bill $350,000 per year. And that's based on the number of days being worked and how much they can be paid for a half a day's work or a full day's work. We're talking about $1,000 for half a day's work over the course of 50 weeks, and that totals about $350,000 a year. And when it comes to that, that money actually comes from local school boards as well. It doesn't necessarily come from the coffers of the provincial government or the Ministry of Education. As of right now, it is 5 different school boards that are under supervision by the province, and we're talking about the Toronto District School Board as well as the Toronto Catholic School Board are among them. Do the math, Calandra says, and there's actually money being saved by doing this. Because the TDSB actually paid out $550,000 to the 22 trustees last year. But it's important to point out that it's just one supervisor versus 22 different trustees. To this point, Calandra doesn't know how much each supervisor has actually billed, but expects it would be the maximum based on the work that they're actually expected to do.
Focus your resources on students and teachers and get that job done. I'm not shy of the fact or embarrassed of the fact that there is a budget in place for these supervisors to do their work, and I expect them to do it, and I will hold them accountable for the work that they do.
So in terms of making sure that there's differences made in the education system in the province, that is Bill 33. It was introduced back in the spring. It is scheduled to actually be fast-tracked through the government's processes as of today. They're introducing a bill that would allow that to happen, and so it would bypass the opportunity for the public to weigh in to see if, in fact, trustees can be done away with. That is expected to be pushed through over the next few weeks. Back to you.
I know you'll continue watching this. That's our Mark McAllister at Queen's Park. Mark, thank you.